Hello, today I'm gonna talk about migration of existing Android application to cross-platform. Nowadays there are dozens of ways to develop mobile applications, but there is no ultimate solution, and each one suits better for each case, which depends on technical requirements and budget. The goal of this research is to find the optimal solution for a specific case. This is Lokimo, Android application which provides city tours and quests. Its uniqueness is that it has specific language for defining these quests and minigames, and it would be extremely hard to create it both for iOS and Android versions, and it would be very hard to maintain this code base, so it would be perfect to find a solution which will provide the way to have only one implementation of this. Also, it is important to consider that this application uses some third-party libraries, and the iOS version should also have these libraries. For example, Mapbox, which is alternative to Google Maps with better pricing and some features which are needed. And Firebase Cloud Messaging, Firebase Remote Config, and Crash Analytics. All the mobile development frameworks could be split into two groups. First one is based on idea that you write shared codebase in specific language and then compile it into native library for each platform, and then on each platform you implement in native language and then use the library as you would use anything else. So it would be possible to have one implementation on platform independent code. And the second group is based on idea that you write one project and compile it into all the mobile operating systems. It is better for games, and sometimes it's also good for just applications, and it helps a lot to economize money and time, but it doesn't suit for all the cases. Sometimes it is necessary to have platform independent code base. The most popular mobile application development framework now is React Native, which is based on React by Facebook. And now it's the third most started project on the GitHub. It tells that it's really beloved by the community, but it has some problems. For example, longer launch time and high CPU consumption. It was recorded that it also consumes 2 times more memory than native applications, but it is really popular because you can use your React framework, which is very common now to write applications, so you can share your code base with websites and use your skills in front-end development in mobile. Really a lot of applications were developed using this framework, for example Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, Pinterest, and so on. But there is a problem with them. They are really bloated. Their installed versions can store up to 200 megabytes just without any user data. One of the oldest mobile development framework is Adobe Air. Initially it was developed as a web and desktop development framework, but then it was ported to mobile, and it was really popular. It has more than 2 billions of installs in summary, but it has really big problems. For example, it's not open source, and the community which develops libraries is not very big, so it's impossible to find fresh and modern libraries now. I tried to find something, but everything was really old, and the list of those available libraries was really limited. It was not possible to find anything which would look like material designed by Google, and there was nothing to work with such libraries like Mapbox, which is needed by my project, and there was no Firebase implementation, so I would say it looks abandoned, but it's still used by game developers. And there is one problem which is really inconvenient for users, that you have to install standalone Adobe Air application just to run any application written in this framework. And this is really new technology, Flutter by Google, which is really promising. It was launched just a few days ago, and the idea is you have a Skia engine, which is a wrapper on OpenGL, which renders native-like widgets. So it could look really like native applications, but it is cross-platform implementation, which is not dependent on any system. So you can run it everywhere, and because of optimizations, it should run as fast as native applications. But on practice, it's not that fast, and it increases application size. Not significantly, but increases. And now let's talk about frameworks which allow you to write shared codebase and custom implementations of platform code. For example, Xamarin by Microsoft. It supports almost all .NET languages such as C#, F#, etc., but it doesn't support some languages like Iron Python, Iron Ruby, which are dynamically executed. Problem with Xamarin is that you have to include this .NET framework implementation, and it can really increase your application size. Even then, it's lightweight, and unused classes are removed from these implementations. Sometimes when you are really dependent on .NET platform using a lot of inner classes, the application is bloated. I read in some reports that it could be increased up to 100 megabytes, but I tried to find some applications written in Xamarin, and almost all of them were not that big, and they looked really bad because of old version of support library. I don't know why they're using it, but I think the support of this project is not very actual. And the last one, Kotlin Native by JetBrains, allows you to write shared codebase in Kotlin, which is a new language also, and this technology now is only in beta version, so it's kind of risky to use it. But the good thing is that Kotlin is native language for Android development, so your application would be fully native for Android and half native for iOS. The idea is that Kotlin Native is compiled into LLVM for iOS, and you can use it as Swift classes in the code. There is a problem that it could be compiled only to x86 and x64 architecture. It would be impossible to use it by ARM v7 processor architecture, so old iPhones would be not supported. Personally, I would stop on Kotlin Native because I have a really huge code base written in Kotlin, and I will have to just refactor it, get rid of Java dependencies, and then compile it into iOS version and write UI for iOS. It will help me to save a lot of time. For example, if I would choose Flutter, I would have to rewrite a lot. And now I will only have to write some platform-dependent code. Currently, there are no articles regarding Kotlin Native which would compare its performance to native applications, so I would like to be the first one to do this. I would like to measure CPU and memory consumption, battery consumption, launch time. I would like to compare application size and development quality, the amount of bugs, the amount of code lines, and the speed of development. Also, I would like to measure frames per second, And then I would like to know how good would be this technology supported by developers. So how often new libraries would be released, and how often would developers of the Kotlin native library create updates for the technology. So thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation was interesting for you.